Week 10 is in the books. Let's recap. After a midseason bye for your boy, we are so back. Bad losses, tough injuries, a firing, and teams cementing their statuses among the truly elite. It's time to look back with our weekly vibe check where we rank every NFL team's week. Let's start off with the team that stunk so badly, they had to oust their coach. At number 28, the New York Giants. We have our second head coach firing of the year. It's Brian Daboll. Just know that before the season started, I predicted that Brian Daboll would be fired at the end of October, and your boy was only 2 weeks off. Not bad, kid. With Brian Daboll being fired, Mike Kafka will now take over Brian Daboll's role of breaking NFL concussion protocol rules. Jackson Dart left the game with a concussion, and then the quarterback equivalent of a yawn came in and was the lead instrumentalist for the band on the Titanic as it sunk. Because of that, Jackson Dart is now out for this week, and Mike Kafka announced that meme/turnover machine Jameis Winston would be this week's starter, which is a shame because Jackson Dart has truly looked like the guy in New York. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, including one from 24 yards. Champ. However, their defense coughed up yet another lead as Caleb Williams gave Giants ownership nightmares of Bo Nix's fourth quarter a few weeks ago. He threw a TD to Rome Odunze, ran one in for the game winner, and gave Brian Daboll his pink slip. Brian Daboll will be fine, and so will the Giants as long as Abdul Carter gets it together. He had fewer tackles than a guy who was reverted to the practice squad the very next day. The guy in question? Young Wegu. At number 27, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Yinzers became the Yangzers this week, as the Steelers played an awful game against the Chargers. Aaron Rodgers was tackled in his own end zone for a safety by Khalil Mack, and this is after Rodgers had a fumble that was caused by, oh god, Troy Fautanu. Inject ayahuasca into my veins, baby. Aaron Rodgers embarrassed himself so deeply on the national stage, you would have thought he was being interviewed by Pat McAfee. He threw 2 interceptions, one of which was insanely overthrown, and the other of which bounced off 2024 Steelers legend Calvin Austin's hands and directly into the hands of 2024 Steelers legend Dante Jackson. Even if one of those interceptions wasn't entirely Rodgers' fault, it shows up on the stat sheet as his fault, and that's what brings me happiness. The Steelers have now lost 3 of their last 4 games, and it's only a matter of time before the most 500 team you've ever seen continues that trend. At number 26, the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills fell for the classic trap game. In the week prior, they beat Kansas City at home. In this upcoming week, they have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In between, they had the struggling Miami Dolphins, who just fired their GM. Instead, they chose to get steamrolled by Devon Achane. He had 22 carries, 174 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The usually unstoppable duo of Josh Allen and James Cook were very human, as they also gave up 3 turnovers. And the defense didn't have a single sack on Tua Tagovailoa. They also lost Dalton Kincaid to a hamstring injury, meaning Dawson Long Locks Knox will likely take starter reps against Tampa. This week showed that the Bills may not be the team we thought they were. Not only did they get beat by the Finns, they got blown the out by the Finns. They'll recover, but for now, they have to sit through footage of the Dolphins riding through trash cans in their own locker room. At number 25, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, good work, Jacksonville. You're up 29-10 in the fourth quarter, you're playing a backup quarterback, and you're getting a divisional win on the road. And wait, what the f***? You allowed 26 points in the fourth quarter to a Davis Mills-led offense. Okay, technically 20, but that's beside my point. The Jags had a brutal fourth quarter that saw them get only 1 total yard of offense. That's 1 full step. That's not good considering your fan base drank during the fourth quarter like they're going to have to take 12 full steps. The entire team, both offense and defense, absolutely the bed in the fourth quarter. The Jags as a whole gave up 26 points, while the offense ran 9 plays and gained 1 total yard. Trevor Lawrence was sacked 5 times, the final of which caused the greatest play in football, and I won't be told otherwise. The Thick Six. The lead given up was so egregious, Shad Khan's mustache flew off his face, went up right in front of him, and smacked him in the face. What an epic collapse. At number 24, the Carolina Panthers. Hey, I fell for this trap game too. The Panthers had an ascending running back that every fantasy player fell in love with. They have a really solid wide receiver 1 with a good floor and an annoyingly low ceiling. Bryce Young, for all his faults, has put up okay numbers as a quarterback. Rico Dowdle got an early touchdown, but the Panthers put up a goose egg the rest of the way home. 2 Bryce Young turnovers, 2 long touchdowns given up to Tyler Shuck, and the Panthers are right back to 500. The Panthers only had 1 5-yard penalty. They just didn't really play that well this week, and there really isn't too much to say, except they owe the people that sat through this game an enormous apology. At number 23, the Green Bay Packers. This was the matchup that had all the fun of a Broncos-Raiders Thursday night matchup, but with more names you recognize. Nevertheless, Green Bay, particularly their offense, stunk on Monday night. Matt LaFleur made a lot of questionable play calls, considering on the second half drive where they did a shotgun run on 4th and 1. I mean, what the f***? That could not have gone worse. Jingleheimer Schmidt lost 4 yards, gave up a fumble, and an illegal formation was called on Green Bay. They had another chance, but Brandon McManus' field goal flew so far to the left, it followed AOC on Twitter. All in all, a very confusing game plan from Green Bay, and a very, very preventable loss against a good team. At number 22, the Washington Commanders. Washington's free fall continues. But enough about the current administration. This team is about as beat up as you could possibly imagine. Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, hell, even Deebo Samuel got locked out of his McDonald's app. It's just not good. And as a result, Detroit came in and whooped up on them. The defense has been truly bad. The Commanders dropped their 5th straight game, and they've allowed 179 points in the last calendar month, by far the most in the league. The leading receiver in this game, to much less of a surprise than it should have been, was Treylon Burks, who had 3 receptions for 58 yards. The rushing offense continued its inefficient stretch as Bill Krosky-Merritt was the leading rusher with 30 yards. Super. Also, Daron Payne was suspended for 1 game for punching Amon-Ra St. Brown after he scored a touchdown and mimicked Donald Trump's dance, or as I call it, the Republican twerk. And their next game is in Europe, so his protest against America literally banned him from being sent to Europe. That's objectively funny. Washington has a defense that's been in limbo for a while now. And in limbo in this case means for the Commanders' defense, the bar is really low. It's a limbo joke. You know what? F it. I want ice cream. At number 21, the Arizona Cardinals. Hey, another 44-22 game in the same time slot. I'm reaching, but what's the point? The Cardinals got absolutely obliterated in the first half, as they gave up 35 points in seemingly the blink of an eye. 2 of those touchdowns were fumble returns by the same dude. The Cardinals had such a rough first half against the Seahawks, Marvin Harrison Jr. literally couldn't stomach it. After a great game in Dallas, they went to Seattle and put up such a poor performance, it made people remember that birds shouldn't migrate north during the winter. At least they put up garbage stats after halftime. Moral victory there, I guess? At least Trey McBride's still him. At number 20, the Minnesota Vikings. The main good thing that came out of the Vikings loss this week is that US Bank Stadium announced a new autumn-themed dessert. It's called Fall's Tart. JJ McCarthy wasn't wonderful, but the offense was out of sync, which is ironic considering their QB looks like he's in sync. A rough, sloppy performance overall, which is wild considering Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison had 7 catches on a combined 23 targets. Penalties, turnovers, and an overall lack of togetherness on offense. McCarthy was inconsistent and showed how raw he still is, as he completed under 50% of his passes, but had exactly 50% of his passing yards go to Jalen Nailor. They had an opportunity to tie the game near the end, but the Vikings offense ultimately came up short and they suffered a loss. The loss was made tougher by the fact that Jonathan Grenard suffered a shoulder injury and his status for this upcoming week is all but certain. The Ravens show they were the better team and vibes aren't great in Minnesota, and they're currently in last place in a heavily competitive NFC North. And number 19, the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, that sucked. Geno Smith had a rough night as he was sacked 6 times and couldn't find pay dirt once, I guess just because it was a school night. The Raiders had a hell of a lot of points, but it wasn't enough to... Wait, I'm sorry, I meant to say the Raiders had a hell of a lot of punts. Nobody wants to think about this game any longer than they have to. 17 combined points, and someone out there paid thousands of dollars to see this game. Hope it was worth it, you idiot. At number 18, the Cleveland Browns. You'd think they'd have a great chance to beat a team that just traded 2 of their best defensive players. Instead, the Jets special teams spent the entire first quarter going absolutely apeshit on the Cleveland Browns. The Browns had 2 weeks to prepare for the Jets, and instead they let them beat them while Justin Fields had only 54 yards passing. You figure as experienced as the Browns are at punting, they'd be better at defending it, but they couldn't, and the Jets had their number from start to finish. As a result, the Jets now have a 2-game winning streak. How? Vibes are once again terrible in Cleveland. At number 17, the Atlanta Falcons. This team has a long plane ride home. I mean, both teams do, but especially for the Atlanta Falcons. They converted 0 third downs, which is terrible for the Falcons, but also awful for the Colts, who didn't give up a single third down conversion and still had to resort to winning in overtime. Michael Penix was inefficient as he only was 12 for 28 on passing. Kyle Pitts continues to be the most enigmatic player on the face of the earth. Darnell Mooney, 1 catch on 8 targets. However, Drake London had home field advantage by playing in his last name's home of Europe as he topped the century mark once again. The defense, however, did get obliterated by Jonathan Taylor as he had 286 yards from scrimmage. He truly can't be stopped, so don't be too hard on yourselves. This was a brutal way to go for a Falcons team that struggles more than Kyle Pitts trying to catch a pass that hits him directly in the chest. At number 16, the San Francisco 49ers. On the bright side, nobody got hurt. Yay! But while Mac Jones is pretty good, the 49ers' turnovers and the Rams' crystal clear game of football they played ultimately did them in. However, the 49ers have shown that they're a well-coached team, and the injuries have thankfully slowed down. There's an extremely real possibility of them still making the playoffs as a wildcard team, and with George Kittle and Jawan Jennings making an impact against a good Rams team, pieces are there for the 49ers to surprise people. Also, Ricky Pearsall could be coming back this week, or next, who knows. Even with the improving vibes, and with the unhealthy players possibly coming back soon, vibes are improving. But a divisional home loss is never good. At number 15, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The rematch between the two Brady teams went to the team that Brady won 6 rings for instead of 1. The Bucs showed that they're a good team against an ascending Patriots team that's honestly just another team because we're all removed from the Brady and Belichick years. Baker played well, the Bucs didn't turn the ball over, and they showed they can go toe-to-toe with one of the NFL's better teams. Ultimately, they came up just a hair short as their penultimate drive ended with a turnover on downs. This was a tough week for the Bucs, but pieces are starting to show, even with Evans and Godwin missing. Emeka Egbuka had a resurgence. Cade Otton started to make an impact. And Tez Johnson got to channel his inner Sean Johnson twice. Just relish in the fact that Carolina and Atlanta also lost. Before we go any further, if you like what you've seen so far, subscribe to the channel. I do plenty of shorts, I do these videos every week, and I'm ready to have a good time with you guys once again. I'm excited to see what the future has in store. And now, back to the video. At number 14, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles only had to do the absolute bare minimum to win, and boy did they. The most exciting moment from the first half of Monday night was when Landon Dickerson didn't get called for a false start on a tush push, and the most annoying football purist you've ever met got a rage boner. After that scoreless first half, Jalen Hurts got the team rolling about as much as a QB can when he only puts up 10 points. He hit Devontae Smith right dead center in the A.J. Brown trade request for the lone Eagles touchdown. The defense was solid as well, as the University of Georgia Alumni Association had 3 sacks on Jordan Love. Okay, 2 of them came from Georgia players, but my point still stands. Good quality win, except, oh no. Ugh. At number 13, the New York Jets. Holy shit, the Jets won again. The Jets scored 2 touchdowns in the first quarter on special teams. One was a punt return by Isaiah Williams, and the other one was a kick return by Ken Nwangu. They had a kick return touchdown. Justin Fields finally threw an interception on the season, and he had a mere 6 completions to 6 different players. No player on the Jets had more than 1 reception, and they won. My goodness, that's insane. Though vibes are tough after trading Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams and losing Garrett Wilson to IR. But Aaron Glenn might be onto something. They just need to successfully build a team around whatever quarterback they draft in the future. At number 12, the Denver Broncos. This evening sucked for all involved. Someone had to win, and thankfully for Denver, it was the Broncos. Even though the Broncos were coming off of facing the Texans merely 4 days prior, they had the good fortune of facing Geno Smith. How meager was the Broncos' offense? Their leading receiver had 1 catch. I know you never apologize for a win in the NFL, but they owe us an apology for making us sit through all of that. I mean, what the hell? At least the Rockies had the dignity to lose low-scoring games. At number 11, the LA Chargers. Wasn't a perfect win, but it doesn't matter because you beat the Steelers. And the Steelers. Justin Herbert played game manager efficiently, and Keenan Allen became the all-time leader in Chargers history in receptions. So at least one California Golden Bear had a good night. Ladd McConkey was the star of the show for the Chargers, as he had triple the yardage of any Steelers receiver and quadruple the self-awareness of the Steelers starting quarterback. The bummer, though, is that budding star Oronde Gadsden did have to leave the game due to an injury. The Chargers' offensive line also did struggle, and right now they're so injury-prone, Madison Beer was seen taking warm-up reps on the sideline for right guard. The Chargers took full advantage of the Chiefs' bye week, plus they made the Steelers look awful, and that's wonderful for America. At number 10, the New Orleans Saints. Oh, Tyler Shuck got a win! The rookie did it against an in-division rival that will be a day that he, and only he, will never forget. Tyler Shuck threw 2 long touchdowns, one of which was to Chris Olave, and the other one was to Jawan Johnson en route to the first win of his career. It was a refreshing change of pace from Spencer Rattler. Rattler was the checkdown king, while Tyler Shuck actually worked to make good deep throws. Tyler Shuck showed that he's the best quarterback on the Saints roster, at least for the time being. This was a huge win, especially in terms of morality, as the Saints are right smack dab in the middle of a rebuild. They'll be alright, just give it time. At number 9, the New England Patriots. Travion Henderson had himself an afternoon. After people wondered whether or not he'd break out, he did exactly that against the Bucs' run defense, as he totaled 150 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns. Proud of my dude. It wasn't just him on the rookie party though, as Kyle Williams had a huge 72-yard touchdown catch from Drake May. Drake May didn't play a perfect game, and the win was ugly, but you know what? This team played well enough to beat a likely division winner on the road. And the Patriots are now one of 2 remaining teams to be undefeated on the road. Solid effort, good win, and good vibes for the Pats. Mike Vrabel might be coach of the year, and he might dedicate that award to the Titans, who didn't know what they were missing out on. Titans confuse me. At number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. They did it! Good work, guys. Lamar Jackson was fine, but that's all they needed to be. The Ravens defense, on the other hand, did their job at stifling J.J. McCarthy's 3 biggest assets: Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and the Vikings fans who will defend J.J. McCarthy until they absolutely can't anymore. There really isn't much else, except the Ravens have now won 3 in a row, and for now they are unfortunately so back. The people calling for Harbaugh's job previously need to cool the f*** down. At number 7, the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Taylor cemented his MVP case by putting up 286 yards from scrimmage, to which the NFL said, nice try, but you're not a throw guy. Get lost. Tyler Warren continued to be pretty damn good. Alec Pierce, go Bearcats, continues to be the frisky deep ball guy we all know and love. Daniel Jones was bailed out by his running back, who has a complete disregard for human life on the field. It was a great win for the Colts in Germany, despite the fact that their offensive line has less structural integrity than the Berlin Wall. At number 6, the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins needed this one. They rode on the heels of Devon Achane to the promised land, which, by the way, was a bunch of giant bins in the locker room. Tua looked pretty good, but Tua didn't really need to do much except look at the guy in the Achane jersey and go, here you go. It was a stifling effort by a Dolphins team that knows Bill's ability to win and lose rides solely in the hands of Josh Allen and James Cook. They likely won't have anything to play for besides a draft pick and the ability to spite the out of Chris Greer. This team won't have legitimately good vibes, but they will have legitimately fun vibes, just like they've always been able to for the last few years. Elsewhere after the game, Mike McDaniel got to taunt Bills fans who just spent their bonus from their folding table repair jobs on a trip to Miami. Number 5, the Houston Texans. The legend of Davis Mills grew on Sunday. Davis Mills led an epic Texans comeback from 29-10 and steamrolled a Jags team that just lost Travis Hunter and its dignity for the year. They gassed the Jags D in the fourth quarter with 3 straight touchdown drives and ended the game with the Will Anderson sack, Trevor Lawrence fumble, and most importantly, a thick 6. I just hope it didn't come from a former Bengal who stunk for the Bengals and went back to his old team and immediately thrived. Oh, come on. Elsewhere, Danielle Hunter helped put Danielle in the coffin by sacking Trevor Lawrence 3.5 times. Really good vibes and a really good win by a Texans team that badly needed both of those after suffering with injuries and mediocre offensive play all season. Number 4, the Chicago Bears. The Bears found a way to be resilient once again, as Caleb Williams led the easiest comeback effort of all time. He had to overcome the Giants' abysmal defense and a quarterback who's washed, primarily because he has the vibe of a guy who has to take a shower after every drive. The Bears are truly starting to come together, though they haven't had the toughest schedule of late. The Bears have won 6 out of their last 7 games, while Bears fans have won 56 out of their last 57 drinking contests. Rome Odunze caught the first pass of the game for the Bears on a play called Get Rome Odunze's Dad the F*** off of Twitter. Though now I'm pretty sure we gotta worry about DJ Moore's dad. Also, good job by the trenches. They had 4 sacks on the Giants quarterbacks, while Caleb Williams didn't get sacked once, meaning his acrylic nails will live to see another day. At number 3, the Seattle Seahawks. The bad news is that Sam Darnold didn't really do anything. The good news is that he didn't really have to. The Seahawks defense took care of everything except for Trey McBride in garbage time. DeMarcus Lawrence had 2 defensive touchdowns, one in the first quarter and one early in the second quarter that were 10 minutes apart. That, fun fact, doubled his career total. The Seahawks jumped out to an early 35-0 lead, and the defense was tasked with not giving up the most egregious comeback you ever did saw. While Jacoby Brissett put up some decent garbage time stats, Seattle ultimately came away with the victory. Vibes are good, and Seattle is now tied with the Rams for first place. At number 2, the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams played a damn near perfect game of football. 0 turnovers, 0 penalties, only 1 sack given up. One of their star receivers got hurt, but it doesn't appear to be serious. An overall dominant effort by the Rams. Matthew Stafford continued to ramp up his MVP case as he threw 4 touchdowns against 0 picks. Puka, Devontae, Colby Parkinson, and Davis Allen all found pay dirt. It's just a shame that Kyron Williams couldn't do the same, and he found it twice, didn't he? Oh yeah. The Rams, they're legit once again. A Matthew Stafford MVP award would all but solidify his Hall of Fame case. All is good for the Rams. Sean McVay can now once again go back to putting on hair gel without coming across like a total ass. But at number 1, the Detroit Lions. The Lions, I don't know if you know this, have an all-powerful offense. They got stopped heavily by the Vikings last week, and they had the chance to rebound against a Washington defense that couldn't stop a wheelchair basketball team. And holy did they. Jahmyr Gibbs had the rebound game of a lifetime, scoring 142 all-purpose yards and 3 total touchdowns. Jared Goff, the chants for him were almost as loud as the boos for that one guy, as he had 25 completions for 320 yards. The beatdown was so dominant, Kyle Allen had more passes than the Lions punter had punts. I don't even know what his name is. I'm sure he's a good guy. The executive branch watched from a suite as Marcus Mariota was sacked multiple times by the Brian branch. It was a great win by a Lions team who changed their play caller to Dan Bowl of Nails for breakfast without any milk Campbell, and it was wildly successful. And that'll do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like this video, you can subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and stay tuned for more sports content that you didn't ask for.